Tell me what it has meant to you to have Erin in your corner.
Without crying?
Wait, I'll
Oh,
get the tissues.
I can't even picture what my life would look like having not shown up at Transformation Weekend 9 years ago. It's so far away from the life I have now. And it wasn't until someone told me I could question my future and my life. I don't think I would have the self-worth and confidence that I do now. I think if you're willing to do the work and become the most resourceful person that you know, but none of that would have even crossed my path 9 years ago if I hadn't walked into that transformation weekend.
So, my beautiful, darling son, my youngest son,
Mhm.
my love, like the fruit of my loins,
He's not gonna like that, but yeah.
human
Crotch fruit, my sweet crotch fruit.
my
Anyway, sorry.
crotch fruit.
Keep talking. What about
Call him that when I pick him up from school today. I'm gonna call him that. Hey, how was your day, crotch fruit?
okay.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, this morning, oh gosh, my crotch fruit, my fruit of my loins. I wake him up and I love going in when they're all sleepy and he comes down for breakfast and he's eating his Cheerios and I'm behind him and I'm making coffee and it's just a nice peaceful quiet morning. And then my son says to me, "Mom, why are you breathing so loud?" And puffing. I was puffing from making coffee. So I have got to get some more exercise is basically the moral of this story. I realized I was puffing. I'm out of shape, Erin, and I need to get outside or something.
Sometimes God speaks to us in whispers, and sometimes he speaks to us in breathlessness. Today, we're going to talk to Laura, one of my favorite people. I've been on a journey with her for almost a decade. My first sort of memory of her is when she said, "Can you meet me? I have a business idea and I just want to know what you think about it." She was looking at hiring me to kind of do some business coaching for her. And so this was 100 years ago. And I only really will work with people if I actually think they do have a business. And I don't really do a ton of this now, just given the limited time that I have. But back then I thought, you 100% have a business. And both she and her husband had full-time jobs at the time. But I was like, you've got some gear going on here, and I think we should explore it. And so you're going to hear her story today as we talk to Laura McKinnon, the founder of Drops of Gratitude.
Laura, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. I want to know first where you and Erin connected. Where in the world were you and what happened and how did you find our Erin?
So 9 years ago, I was 3 months postpartum. I was lying on the couch, and my daughter was the easiest baby. Slept through the night from day one. I couldn't relate with any of my exhausted new mom friends, and I was just in such a rut because I felt like I should be more fulfilled than I was just being a mom. And then I was scrolling on Instagram and a transformation weekend ad came up and I read it and I didn't know Erin. I didn't know anyone in her group. I showed it to my husband and he took my phone and booked it for me. And that's when it was in Banff. So it was like my first time away. He forced me to go because he just knew I was just feeling a little bit lost. And that first transformation weekend 9 years ago was the first time I had ever heard anybody say, you control the decisions and the opportunities in your life. I kind of had always just been go with the flow, take what's given to me. I didn't really have that reach for the stars mentality. I kind of was just happy where I was. And it was the first time I started to question what I wanted in my life.
So tell me how the weekend went for you.
The weekend was hard. I really tried to dig deep, but that was my first experience in digging internally. I had never really questioned who I was. And what I had hoped would happen was I was going to have this big epiphany and my life would change overnight. I would go home and know exactly what to do and things would be different. And I could come back a year later and be like, I'm a millionaire. I have all these things. And for me, especially, I know that does happen. I know that there is those aha moments that really do change the trajectory of someone's life. But for me, it was like these slow little baby steps, which is what I needed to learn because I still struggle with that all or nothing mentality. And it's so annoying that the real change is in like the day-to-day consistent baby steps.
Mm. Do you remember some little nuggets from that weekend that you still use today?
Yep. So your ideal day, picturing what your ideal day looks like, I feel like 9 years later, I'm living that. For me, a big thing was working in a industry that I was not aligned with and really struggling with knowing in my heart that it was not for me. But we made really good money in our 20s, and I kind of felt like I was stuck there. Like if I wanted to live the lifestyle we had, I had to stay in the industry I hated. And I really didn't want to open my eyes to that not feeling good for me. And that was the weekend where I started to question it. So I feel like the biggest nugget was following your heart will never fail you.
Yeah.
And now I can say 9 years later, that is absolutely the truth.
Okay, so tell me those steps that you took. What were some of your baby steps when you got back? What did you do to start changing your life?
Back then, I didn't have my company that I have now. I was working in the casino industry. I had started to use some of the education I had. I went back to school and became a holistic nutritionist before I got pregnant. So it had been a year that I had been out of school working in the casino industry and having a newborn. It was then that I started making bracelets. I was really into aromatherapy, and that was my way to create something for myself. And it became more of a little passion project. And it wasn't until a year later that Erin and I started working together privately to build a business. And even still, when I hired her, I was so naive thinking that I just want someone like Erin who can see the bigger picture, which I have a really hard time doing. She can see the potential in anybody and build it up so much from like 5 years out, which I couldn't do. And I still thought that my little side hobby was just going to be like this little thing on the side, and it was going to fill my heart up while I worked in an industry I hated. And thankfully, that definitely wasn't the case. My husband went to the next transformation weekends and was inspired to quit his job. And I was all for it. So on the Sunday night, I think that's the weekend, Erin, that everyone quit their jobs. Like that was the transformation weekend where like everyone is like, we quit, everyone's out.
We had a weird, yeah, it was a weird year where I wasn't like, hey, everybody, here's what we're going to do. 1, 2, 3, quit your job. It wasn't like that at all. We never even talked about jobs or careers or anything, but just
Yeah.
something moved in that room where I think it's because of the way the economy was going. We were in a really big boom and money was easy. And I think a lot of people were stuck in that exact pattern you're talking about of feeling really unfulfilled. And that's why debt is so dangerous too, right? Because when you have a big mortgage or you have big car payments or you have big expenses, to suddenly make a shift can really crumble your financial, well, the world that you know anyway. And so you're right. There was a year, I still remember it very clearly. Like within a week or two, I'd had everybody messaging saying, I quit my job, I quit my job. I'm like, do we have anybody employed in this country right now? What's happening?
Yeah. So Terry quit his job the Monday, and I was like, this is so exciting. Like I make enough in the casino that I can keep us afloat. Drops of Gratitude was making a little bit of money, and it was all fine. I was so excited for him. And then I went into my casino after 15 years on the Tuesday. So not even 24 hours later. And I was the only person in my department to get laid off. It was just me. And it was such a blindside. So we went from these two very big incomes to literally nothing the next day. And thankfully I was working with Erin, and she's so cry about it for a night, pull up your panties and let's get to work. I didn't want to go to another casino. I knew I was going to do anything it took to keep our house and keep our bills being paid, but I was not going to go to another casino. I felt like it was happening for a reason, and we flipped my little hobby into a business and didn't miss a mortgage payment, nothing. And now Terry works for Drops of Gratitude full time.
Okay, wait, you have to tell us all about this business. But first, I want to know what you did. So you now are both unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
So Monday, he quits. Tuesday, you're laid off. What did you do on Wednesday?
Well, that's the day they cried. That's the crying
Oh,
day.
right. Okay, never mind. Then what did you do
Thursday,
on
we got to work.
Thursday?
Thursday, so he went to a different casino and worked alongside a really good friend of his and loved it. And I hustled my butt, and I stopped talking about my business as a side hustle. I stopped using the word hustle, and I looked at it as if it was a business, like a sustainable one. And I never would have worked so hard if I didn't have to make it successful. And I was still able to do that without going to the bank and getting investors and getting a loan. Again, those little baby steps made it a way to build my business without getting into a lot of debt.
Yeah, I love this already because I feel like there's a lot of people listening that have things that they love doing, but they never take the initiative to turn it into something that can actually build money. So you've got to share all of your wisdom with us and tell us how you did this. So what, first of all, is Drops of Gratitude?
So Drops of Gratitude now is a brand that promotes and makes products that have an emphasis on positive psychology and mental wellness. But where we started out was very simple. We wanted to create something that was a full, complete gift that you could give someone else that had meaning, it had intention. So we came out with the aromatherapy bracelet. They're always paired with an essential oil so that you can infuse these little black stones here. And it comes with just a little bottle. And the bracelet has an intention based on the stone, and the aromatherapy oil has a benefit based on the scent. So there's a lot of science behind the aromatherapy. There's a lot of fluff that comes with the gemstone world and energies, which I love because it's just something that's always questioned, and leaning in and believing that the meaning you're going to give something is going to be stronger than anything else. So if someone gifts you a bracelet when you're going through a really hard time and it's your reminder that you are strong and worthy, you're going to think of that, whether the stone represents strength. So that's where we started. And now we have 2 stores in Calgary. We focus a lot on mental health, so plants, gemstones, aromatherapy, bath and body products that are clean and good for us, candles that are clean and good for us. Everything's very multifaceted. So it's not just a candle, it's a candle that represents abundance with gemstones. It's a plant that is given a name. So you're not buying a fern, you're buying Leonard, and he needs a home to adopt, and you're going to fall in love with Leonard and make sure he survives. So it's all about this, like building this in intention, and it's a really fun place.
Do you want more? I know you do. Why wouldn't you want more?
More
of
what?
this,
What do I want more of?
more of this. Come hang out in the online course, Forget the Hell Out of Debt. The link is in the description. You just got to click it, sign up, and we'll see you in there.
I love Leonard already. I need a
I
Leonard.
know.
In the early days, because we had to really figure this out, a lot of our time together, Laura, and our time was spent explaining things like business bank accounts and like how to separate income. Like it was a lot of that really granular stuff. But I do remember myself sitting up late one night, researching gemstones and helping come up with names and meanings because we needed to get this thing going. And I remember you trying to decide like what colors should the background be. And I was like, just go with white because A, it's cheap and blah, you know what I mean? We were really brainstorming those early days. And I think one of the things that you really did so well is you knew your customer. You knew your customer was somebody who, just like Carrie said, would want that meaning behind everything, would really want to connect. And I remember you saying, we were out for a walk, which is weird. We haven't gone walking in like 8 years.
I know. I was just thinking about that. I was walking past one of the where you're like lying down. I can't remember. You're on your back lying down for some reason.
Shocker.
It was some type of yoni thing. And I was walking past and I was like, oh man, I miss Erin.
Well, and this is just a word of advice for anybody that's in business. If you're in business and you have a friend in business or a coaching client or somebody that's in business, walk and talk, because the most amazing things happen when you're moving your body and you're thinking at the same time. That's just a little side note. We were out for a walk and I remember going through some of these pieces with you. And what really blew me away was how creative you are. And yet you kind of felt a little uncertain about running the business side of things. And I remember thinking, if you just stay in this lane, you can hire for this other part, but nobody can run this part of the company the way you can because you connect with your clients. And I remember you saying, like, how many times have you gotten a gift, you receive it from somebody, you're like, this is no meaning to me. I'm definitely going to wait till they leave and I'm going to regift it. And I'm like, oh, like 100% of the gifts I'd received up until that point, right? I was like, pretty much all of them. So you really understood your customer, both from the giving and the receiving side, because the giver wants to give something that's going to be loved and well received. And the receiver, of course, everybody's always so grateful to receive anything, but it is nice when you can keep it and be reminded of somebody who believes in you or somebody who sees something in you that sometimes is hard to see in yourself.
Yeah, I really feel like I've been able to take all of the things that makes me Laura and like hyper focus on those. So I've always been a very grateful person. I've always been very giving, and just being able to build a brand based on your like life mission, I feel like it just creates so much opportunity for success because you're doing exactly what you're meant to do. So none of business feels easy. It's always going to be hard. We're in a really tough season right now, but instead of, one of the biggest things I learned from you was leaning into curiosity and like, okay, it really sucks right now. This person's really angry about this. Like I get excited. Like truly get so excited to know that we might not be in business 6 months from now. Like, how are we going to fix that? Let's be creative. And I get to use the parts of myself that I feel like is beneficial for the world.
I love it. I think that's just it. And business, all businesses is really solving other people's problems. It's constantly being the solution to something. And so
Yeah.
keeping curious is so critical because so many people get locked into this identity. If you had only stayed at bracelets, which is what you started at, right? It would have been a lot more challenging to scale. And there may be a time when it makes sense to reduce the product line, just depending on how things are going or what's going on in the market. But that ability to be flexible and creative is one of your absolute strengths as a business owner.
Yeah, I feel like last year we kind of expanded a lot in our products, and this year it's going to be like really honing in that niche, getting back to our demographic market and figuring out things have changed since COVID. People are finally starting to question what they want in life. It's almost like we were forced to know, like, do you want to work from home? Because now you had that opportunity. Our values are just so much more stronger and more recognized, I think, and it changes the way people gift and it changes the way people spend their money. So getting back out there and figuring out what our demographic wants, I think is going to be really good this year because we're going to simplify things.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning when you first started doing this then. I'm just picturing you like at your kitchen table making the bracelets yourself. Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, me and my husband, I worked in my undeveloped basement. It was rough. It was hard because there's building a business, there's being a mom, which I've always felt very confident in. There's being a wife, and then there's going back to building this business so that you can sustain all of this, but you don't feel good at it. So it's like spending the most time on the thing that you're not good at. So for me, a lot of it was self-awareness and figuring out what I did right and what I wasn't good at and building from there. So I think self-awareness and curiosity is like the two pillars of how I got to where I am now, and consistency. But yeah, we started out building our business in our basement and taking every opportunity we could.
How are you selling them in the beginning?
Erin made me build my website in 10 days, and I did. But had I not had a timeline, it probably would have taken a year. And I think probably 6 months in, we started doing markets. And that is what was able to sustain me not working in the casino industry, was the markets. And that also comes with so many amazing connections, community. From there, that's how we started growing. And then we started traveling. So we were doing markets in Toronto and New York, Winnipeg. We were all over Canada. And then smack dab in the middle of COVID, when we were losing some of our wholesale accounts because Ontario is closed pretty much across the province, we decided, since so much of our wholesale accounts were in Ontario, that we need to really stick to Calgary and what we could do in the moment. And that was opening a store. So that's what we did. And it's always been profitable.
That's amazing. Okay, so tell me how your debt factors into this whole story. Like, were you in debt before you started the business? Did you have to take on some debt to start the business? Tell me about how that all came together.
We were in debt when we started the business. I'm the spender of us two. His brain is like, if you want to save money, just don't spend it. And I'm like, okay, but where's the plan? Like, I need a plan. I need to know exactly, like, budgets make me want to vomit, but give me a goal and I will nail it. Like, I can hyper focus on something that I'm working towards. And if I don't have that thing, then it's going to go out of my head. So for us, we were always able to keep up with our bills. We were using our credit cards sometimes. And then when we started the business, I was good at making sure it wasn't going to like impact our personal expenses. But back then we weren't incorporated or anything. So I'd say by the time we got to about 2019, we were probably about $20,000 into debt. And only because we weren't really paying attention. When we finally joined to get the hell out of debt, because I was like, I feel like we should probably focus on this in the scariest time that I've ever been alive. We don't know what next year is going to look like, especially running a business. And by then, Terry was working for Drops of Gratitude full time. He quit when our twins were born. So it was just us. And we hammered out $20,000, I think, in 8 months. I'm really good at hyper focusing on a goal. And my husband's just really good at not spending money. So it worked out well.
And you did what exactly to pay that off? Is it just the business or how else were you bringing in money?
No, actually, drops of gratitude really didn't impact our debt repayments. We pay ourselves the same amount every 2 weeks. We always have. And for good reason, we intentionally wanted to make it so that we were setting ourselves up for the future. Like, it's unrealistic to use one crutch to save another. So I was selling everything I could on Marketplace. We were doing all the odds and ends jobs.
As a fun side
The
fact,
tips.
do you know that I have a lot of Laura McKinnon's furniture? Because Laura has amazing taste.
Yes.
Whenever Laura goes to sell anything, I snatch it up and put it in an Airbnb. So I have her rug. I've got a couch. You know, the white couch you guys used to have that
Yeah.
had
The leather. Yes.
yeah, it's mine. I bought it from you. Remember, I own it.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Aaron
We
helped
were-
repay your debt.
No, not this is just when Laura is just redecorating. That was what that was about. I wasn't like in the middle of her hustle being like, I'm gonna find people who are in debt and I'm gonna profit off it. It wasn't like that at all. But one thing Laura did say to me, which has always stuck with me, is the one carpet, the one rug I got had really thick pile. And Laura is a neat, tidy, clean, simplified person. She's just amazing at being organized and all of that. And one time she was talking about how I just want to get rid of this rug because carpets gross me out because you never know what's in them. I think about that all the time now. I can't walk on a carpet without being like, Laura McKinnon would never approve of this.
we're actually renovating right now, and we're still fighting about this. But my husband's like, we want to replace carpet with carpet because logistically it makes sense. You don't have to like pull down the baseboards. Like, it's slide something in that's the same thickness. I was like, no, I'm not doing carpet. Like, why would I replace the disgusting carpet? Like, we've had 2 dogs and 3 kids in our bonus room for 10 years. Like, I don't even want to pull that up because it's going to be disgusting. We are getting vinyl plank so that I know exactly what is on my floors.
That's so smart.
I love it. I love it.
Here is where we need to get juicy, please. I need you to tell me what those conversations were like when you and your husband decided that you were going to work together, that he was going to quit his job and 2 of you were going to run this business together. There's got to be some juicy details. I want to hear them, Laura.
I know what you're thinking, and I'm making a wager the other way that there's no juicy details because I know.
Ah.
Tell me, Laura, was there juice?
No,
Oh.
my husband and I are just like, we're like synced. Like, we're good. We work together really well. I'm obsessed with him. Like, that helps.
Let me just say,
That's
Carrie,
so sweet. That's
there's
such a
no
nice-
drama there. You won't, but you could turn up every stone and there's no drama. Every single time I go into Drops of Gratitude and I see Terry, I text Laura immediately. I'm like, your husband is the greatest guy. She's like, I know. It's not that I'm surprised because I know he's awesome, but he's got magic in him. And
He does.
every time you think you're going to meet this incredible level of awesome, he ups it just like a percent. He's so good with people. He's very even tempered. He's got his priorities in line. He loves his family more than anything else. He is just all about, he's like everything that's good and right in the world. And if I could clone a Terry for every woman that I knew that was single, I think we'd have world peace. I really do.
Oh.
Yeah,
He's so good. And he's so funny. Like,
it's funny.
he's so funny. So that really helps. Like, he's just like this. I try not to put him on a pedestal, but he's amazing. And we work really good together. When my boys were born, they were born a month early. I was in the NICU. I, for some reason, think I'm a superhuman and can do anything. And I was like, I don't need to take time off work while I have twins. Like, whatever, I can just work during their naps and it'll be fine. And
Because she had her daughter that was an angel. She didn't realize she had these
I
2
know.
boys. Yeah.
Oh, I always thought that my parenting, Terry and I, like, we're super chill. Our house is very calm. I was like, it's our parenting style. Like, my kid is good and sleeps through the night because we're chill and good. It's like, we don't ever yell at each other. There's no name calling. She doesn't pick up on any of that. Not at all. Like, my twins were born a month early, still don't sleep through the night. They're turning 5 next week. They're nuts. And definitely not parenting style. Like, they're just crazy. So I definitely got my taste of like new mom, newborn life. Anyways, I was in the NICU. My phone was going off with online orders. I started bawling because I'm like 3 days postpartum. And I was like, you have to quit your job. Like, you have to quit the casino and help me. It's like, we just had 2 babies. We can't do that. And I was like, I don't know what else to do. So he asked who was a good friend, he asked her for some time off. And she's like, yeah, do whatever you need to do. And he just didn't go back. We didn't skip a beat. So it's been 5 years now that we work together. But the biggest thing is knowing what we do in our business. And we do have our hiccups. Like, there is a lot of communication issues just because we are doing all the things all the time. So we're not only worrying about our business, we're worrying about school and kids and appointments and stuff. Having good boundaries within our business and knowing where our strengths are. He's at the store and he works with our team because he's such a good leader. We have such good staff because they want to keep up with him. They're not being pushed by a boss, they're being led by him. So that makes a world of difference in our culture. And I do what I'm good at, and it's usually sitting in my basement creating stuff and working on the business so that my team can work in it.
Mm, I just love that. That's so great that the two of you can do that because that's a lot of time spent together, right? And you've got the
Yeah,
same goals and it can be tricky. Do you have to take time to define when you're going to do work and when you're going to do home life?
we probably should. That would probably be it. But I find Terry's good at turning work off in some aspects, and I am not. So he does help me slow down a bit, which is why we have like non-negotiable Mexico trips every January. Like we have to go, even if we're leaving 3 days after we book it, we have to go. And it's so good for us. And we'll eventually get to a season of life where him and I can go away for a couple days on our own, and we have been able to have the opportunities. But right now, I'm just really happy that I can work from home, be with my kids, work alongside my husband, because like it's not lost on me that that is a dream life to most people, to be able to be with the people that love them and who they love more than anything else. So we just work hard so that we can keep doing it.
Tell me about what's next. Like, how are you going to grow this business? What are your plans for Drops of Gratitude?
So this year we're doing a lot more in-store experiences. So we are building out bracelet bars. So you can come in and make your own gemstone bracelet. Nobody knows this yet. This is like
Breaking news.
yeah. People need to want to go to the store. Like I'm really bad for it. If I need something right away, I'm online in 2 seconds. I love convenience. So how are we going to get people to show up at the store? Which is like you walk in and you feel so good. The energy is amazing. But how do we get you to show up? So if you can come in and make a bracelet, our workshops were always really popular. So being able to bring a workshop experience into a store where you don't have to book a time, you can just come in and make a bracelet, come in with your daughter, your
That is
sister.
genius.
I
Yeah.
love that.
So
We're going, Erin. Tell us when it's ready, Laura, because we'll come right away.
okay. Okay. Yeah. This is like brand new baby idea. So it will happen soon. Our biggest thing is in-store experiences.
Amazing.
Okay, tell me about your business revenue and how that's grown.
Since opening the stores, our revenue has obviously grown substantially. Also comes with a lot of overhead, but we've been able to employ 9 people, 3 of which are full-time. This last year alone, I think we've probably seen a 15% growth, which is actually pretty good considering we're in retail.
Amazing.
And this year we want to see at least 35%, and that is with having a strategic plan in place, which is alongside this in-store experience. We're also going to be investing in a lot of online marketing, and we've been able to build this business 7 years in with almost $0 spent on marketing. So that will be a big budget of ours this year too.
That's so neat. That's impressive and goes to show how much time and energy you're obviously focusing on the right thing here because those are good numbers, right, Erin? I mean, I don't know. Those sound like good numbers, but you tell me.
It's difficult for business to even grow 10% in a year if they're not paying attention. And so 15% growth in a year where things are at where they're at in the economy, like consumer spending is a little tighter. There's like all kinds of factors and cost of goods are way up. Like, as you know, you probably experienced like huge inflation in a lot of your products over the last little while, right? So it's huge. And I 100% believe you're going to hit 33. If you tell Laura McKinnon, you got to grow your business 33% this year, 35% and 40%, Laura McKinnon's going to do it. So it's as good as done because of the way she's able to focus. So
do you have some personal money goals? Are you doing some wealth building outside of the business?
Yeah, I've always felt like Drops of Gratitude is what the world needed, and it needed to become a thing. But I also feel like Laura McKinnon also needs something else too. So I feel like I will have something a little bit different that I can kind of step away from. Our team is amazing. I don't have to grind so much. I can take a step back, and I really want to be able to help people in a different way. I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but I want to be able to use that type of money and income to set us up more financially in our personal life. So I'm just investing and doing the right things so that Terry and I can enjoy a future where we don't have kids in the house, where we can just enjoy each other and
Mhm.
know that all of the hard work that we did now was for a reason. It was for our future, which I have a really hard time doing. I have a really hard time thinking about anything but the present. And I know that's the opposite for some people. They're either focused on the past or stuck in like the what ifs. And I'm just happy to be here, which almost to a fault.
Have you had those conversations though about what your retirement looks like?
Yeah. Yeah. We know where we want to be. We don't have like numbers set up. Like we want to have X amount in our bank when we retire. We don't have an age that we would want to retire. I honestly can't see myself ever not working in some form, but we do have a plan of what we want our life to look like. And for me, it's always been about how I want things to feel. And Terry's very logical. It can't change. Whereas me, I'm just like, I don't know if I like the vibe. We need to change things. Like I'm just very like on a whim, as long as it feels worth it. Because like this doesn't feel easy by any means, but it does feel worth it.
Tell me what it has meant to you to have Erin in your corner.
Oh, without crying? Um,
Wait, I'll get the tissues.
I can't even picture what my life would look like having not shown up at Transformation Weekend 9 years ago. I don't even know. Like it's so far away from the life I have now. And it wasn't until someone told me I could question my future and my life. And thankfully, I married an amazing man that I want to grow with. Thankfully, I didn't have those really hard pulls besides my job right off the hop because I wasn't ignorant to anything. I was finally opened to questioning everything in my life. And without her, I wouldn't have a business. Jobs of Gratitude would not exist. I don't think I would have the self-worth and confidence that I do now. Definitely wouldn't have the knowledge of starting a business. Part of when we hire people in retail, like we're hiring students that have these big dreams, and it comes with free business mentorship because I know how much that changed my life. And if I'm paying somebody a little bit more than minimum wage to show up and do a job that can be slow at sometimes, and they're daydreaming about what they want their future to look like, you're guaranteed I'm going to tell you exactly how to build a website, pull a nuance report, like all the things so that they can do that for themselves, because it absolutely is attainable for anybody. I think if you're willing to do the work and become the most resourceful person that you know. But none of that would have even crossed my path 9 years ago if I hadn't walked into that transformation weekend.
I love how that came together for you. I have to tell you that this is the first time you and I are talking. I don't know you, and I'm just meeting you for the first time today, but it's strange because Erin has always talked about you. And I don't think it was until recently that I actually knew that you were a client, like a coaching client of hers, because I just thought you guys were friends.
Yeah.
Kind of was a both situation. It was kind of a both and situation. Once the coaching ceased, like once she completed what she was doing, like you can't not be a fan of Laura's. I still, every single time I'm in either of the malls where there's a location, I go in every single time and I buy up all the things. Here's the thing, as I've always known Laura is going to be a millionaire. And now I really believe she's going to be a billionaire. There's no question. Because it's not just about the retail. It's about who she is as a person, as I'm sure you've heard today and blown away. And she was extremely way too humble. It's hard to really be like, let me tell you how awesome she is. When she's like, I'm just so happy to be present. I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm like, no, this girl is like remarkable. So there's no question to me that her business is going to grow. And I don't know that it's going to be in this form or if it's going to be multiple businesses or like what it's going to look like. But it almost reminds me of Sarah Blakely in the sense of Sarah Blakely runs her companies with her culture in mind because she recognizes that people give up 8 hours of their day to come and be part of a mission. So in Laura's case, the mission has to be meaningful because Laura wouldn't give up 8 hours of her day unless she was doing something meaningful. She learned that at the casino, right? And you're spending time with coworkers and people who almost, have the ability to improve your life or make it worse. So she's really intentional about all of that. And it's contagious because I also think that the people who are applying for jobs today, especially the younger people, they don't want Joe Boomer telling them what they have to do with their lives. And so I just think Laura is like almost like that thirst quenching oasis for people who are starting their lives out. And I just think there's so much more to this than we've even seen yet.
Also, I need a bracelet and a candle stat. Can I get one online?
Yes. You can go to dropsofgratitude.ca. You can find us on Instagram. I believe it's drops.of.gratitude.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we've got the 2 stores in Calgary.
Okay. I'm ordering. The end. And also, I'm coming to make a bracelet. And I feel like this is a great gift. I'm going to do this year. My goal is always to be a good gift giver. So I love something that's meaningful. And this sounds like it's like right up my alley. So I'm in, Laura. I'm in.
Yes. Yes. Awesome.
There's going to be 100 million people that are going to come to your website now, just so you know, after this episode, because we're all going to want bracelets.
Amazing.
Can you give our listeners, I hate to ask you on the spot, but can we have a discount code? Do you have something when we do that?
Yes. If you use the promo code podcast, all caps, it'll give you 15% off anything on the website.
Yes.
See, this is also what I'm learning from Erin, is that you have to ask for what you want, people. I want a discount because I'm going to buy all the things.
The other thing I learned from Erin when it comes to abundance is like, if someone is like giving you, like buying you lunch, you accept it. Because like, you don't want to like cock block your,
You don't want receiving.
Yes. Yeah. The universe is like, oh, you don't want free stuff? Fine.
It's so smart.
Anyways.
First of all, I use and love all your products. And so I know our listeners are also going to find value in them. And I think one of the things you can do, I think a lot of people think of getting out of debt as like scrimping and saving and like being really tight with things. But I really do believe having a quality of life while you're getting out of debt is really critical also. And so we've had people in the Get the Hell Out of Debt program buy a bracelet that means something to them, so that when they've got the bracelet on, they're focused on their financial goals. And so, you know, it's not a mandatory spend by any stretch of the imagination, but if you can make it more fun, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And I feel like once you know what you value in life, and simplifying everything else so that you can enjoy the things you want, you're not spending money impressing people, you're spending money on the things that are gonna bring you joy and that come with specific intention, really goes a long way.
I am so stinking proud of you. I saw this day like way back when we met at the casino, when you first came up with your business idea. I came to meet you because you only had like a little bit of a lunch break. So I came to meet you and we sat down and you showed me the prototype and the bracelets and all of that. And I was like, this is a business, Laura McKinnon. It's so cool to see where you are now and also where you're going, because I'm here to cheer you on the whole way. So I'm super proud of you. There's no question that you are an inspiration to so many people, especially the people who come into your stores and who work for you, but just simply not because of what you've created, but just simply because of who you are.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
She is seriously the greatest human who ever humaned, and so is her husband. And it's amazing to me that they met as young as they did, and they have as great of a relationship as they have.
I know. I really thought that there would be some juicy details where she was like, listen, it wasn't easy in the beginning and we had to really figure it out, but we've come through the other side and we're better than ever. But she's like, no, it was fine and easy from the entire time. And when she said she's obsessed with him, what a like lovely thing to say.
Are you obsessed with Nick?
I mostly am.
She asks as a question. I'm obsessed with him when he cleans the toilets.
I just love that kind of love. I think that's very cool.
But let me just tell you something, because I know it's Love Month and we're thinking about all things February, is sometimes you have to decide you feel obsessed with somebody and you decide you love them on that level before you actually feel the feelings. And I know a lot of women and a lot of men, I shouldn't make this a woman thing. God, what did the patriarchy just come into here? What just happened there? Wow.
Knocked at the door, stomped their way through.
I'm a misogynist? What just happened? Is that sometimes people look at their partners and decide that they feel a certain way about their partners based on how their partners are behaving, not based on who they are. And what Laura and Terry do so well is you will never hear her speak ill of her husband. And therefore, they don't call each other names. They don't argue or yell or scream, or like she said, like their house is very calm. Well, except for now with the toddlers jumping off the couch and all the things that happen with two little amazing, the most adorable boys you've ever seen. But they really are practiced at keeping the most important things the most important things.
I want to come on these walks with you. Can I come?
Yes, you'd have so much fun. She's so great. And the best thing about going for a walk with somebody who's making stuff happen in their own lives is it inspires you, whether you are conscious of it or not. Like some people go on a walk with a friend that's a complainer. Don't put that energy in your sphere. But go for a walk with somebody who's doing something and talk out your problems while you walk, because you'll find the solutions in the conversation.
But also I might be puffing behind you a little. Is that okay?